brilliant speech, but Pramila just gave it to you. I could be a little bit briefer. It seems to me that we live in enormously difficult times. And what motivates me is not just my concern in general about this country, but I have 7 very, very beautiful grandchildren. And I want them to grow up in a beautiful country that all of us can be proud of. And that really is what motivates me. I am focusing now, and the reason I'm here is for 3 separate issues. Number 1, I am going to do everything that I can to make certain that Donald Trump is not elected president. That somebody of this kind of temperament, this sexism, misogyny, racism, and I can go on and on. You know, I actually have some of the statements and language in which he has described women. I cannot use that language. It is too ugly and too embarrassing. Somebody like this must never, ever become president of the United States. That's number 1. Number 2, I am here to see that we elect Pramila to the United States. I served 16 years in the House before I went to the Senate. There are a lot of smart people in the Congress, but you know what? They don't have the guts to stand up and fight. And right now, of all of the issues that Pramila went down the list, same list that I go down, the issue that concerns me the most is if we do not rally the American people and turn this country around, we are heading toward an oligarchic form of society where a handful of billionaires will control not only our economy, but our political life and our media, and we cannot allow that to happen. And this maybe is the most important point. It's beyond Trump, it's beyond Pramila. And that is that the day after the election, we have got to mobilize the American people to make sure that the United States Congress and the next president implement this democratic platform. This platform is far and away the most progressive platform of any political party in the history of this country, and you guys made it happen. Our campaign received 13.4 million votes, which told the entire establishment that status quo politics is not going to work. We are going to transform this country. On every issue that Pramila raised, we are the majority. These are not, I don't want anybody here to think, oh, I am so courageous, I'm way out there on a limb. You are not. All of these issues are what the American people believe in, and we've got to make sure that they have the fringe candidates. And what our job is to bring millions of people together to create a government and a set of policies that represent all of us and not just the 1%. Election day is clearly an important part of the political process. It is not by any means all that politics is. We win when we stand together, when millions of people stand together. have something in common. We are both first-generation immigrants, sons of immigrants, daughters of immigrants. My family came from Poland, her family came from India. But what we know, and this is why it is so important to destroy everything that Donald Trump stands for, what Pramila knows and what I know, is that what we are most proud of in this country is our diversity. That is our strength. Not by race, not by sex, not by gender, not by our sexual orientation. We will stand together. And what are the issues? What are the issues that we've got to deal with? First of all, we don't get our act together in the very short term, we're going to lose the foundations of American democracy, because right now, as we speak, the Koch brothers and the other billionaires are trying to buy the United States government. I just came from California. I was in California this morning. They have a proposition there called Proposition 61, which wants to control the price of prescription drugs, one of the great crises of our time. The pharmaceutical industry is going to spend $100 million trying to defeat that proposition. $100 million. Our job is to overturn Citizens United and to go further than that. I don't want to just go back to pre-Citizens United days. We need public funding of elections. Our job is to have the highest voter turnout in the world, not one of the lowest. Our job is to have a politically conscious electorate where there is serious debate about serious issues, not attacks about people's sex life. Second of all, we have, as I know all of you know, a rigged economy. And what that means, and this is important, we are not a poor country. We are the richest country in the history of the world. The problem is that nobody knows that, because almost all of the wealth is going to the top 1%, and 58% of all new income is going to the top 1%. I know that this is a radical idea, but we have got to inject morality into the political process. Whether it is appropriate for the top 1/10 of 1% to own as much wealth as the bottom 90%. Whether it is appropriate that in the last 16 years we have seen a 10-fold increase in billionaires. 10-fold increase in billionaires from 51 to 540, while the middle class continues to shrink. Pramila and I have some news for Donald Trump and his billionaire friends. You are going to start paying your fair share. Pramila and I understand that if somebody in America works 40 hours a week, that person should not be living in poverty. We're going to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. And while I am here in Seattle, let me thank, that's right, all of the folks here in Seattle and the City Council for all of their effort and all your effort. You have led the country. And in a way, what you did here in Seattle is what we have got to do in so many ways. Ideas that were once unthinkable become mainstream. So that if we were here 5 years ago, and somebody got up and said, well, you know, the federal minimum wage is $7.25, we've got to more than double it, making $15 an hour. You know what people would have said? They would have said, you're crazy. You can't do it. It's too radical. Seattle did it. And because Seattle did it, other cities and states began to do it. 2-3 years ago, Democrats in Congress were saying, we're really tough, we're brave, we're going to raise the minimum wage to $10.10 an hour. $15 an hour is now. So that is the point and why we need dozens of Pramillas in the United States Congress. Because when you speak up and you fight for justice, what seemed impossible suddenly becomes mainstream when you have the courage to fight for those ideas. Our major crisis is not all of the problems that Pramila listed off. Our major crisis is that we have an establishment, a media, political organizations who tell us it can't be done. Think small, don't think big. And what we need are people to break through those barriers to think big and say, of course, we can accomplish those goals. Minimum wage. It is to answer the question of why we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to all people as a right. Why? You live, I live right near the Canadian border. All over the world, in every major country on earth, they say, you're a man, you're a woman, you're a child. Health care is a right. We do not. Pramila will help me change that. We will pass.